Sometimes I feel bad that like every single one of my videos ends up being negative, but that's just how I talk about stuff apparently. Also, I'm wearing this hoodie today just kind of in the hopes that somehow there's an NFL season this year. I'm getting put in fantasy football leagues and it's really strange because I don't even know if there's actually going to be a season. Anyway, welcome back everybody. My name is Tucker and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 5 toughest rebuilds in the NBA right now and ranking them from 5 through 1, because we're getting to the point now where the offseason is becoming a real thing for a lot of teams throughout the league now that we moved into the postseason. And I think this is a really great time to kind of evaluate where a lot of teams are going in the NBA. And if you were forced to take over one of these teams, you know, which ones would be truly the toughest to rebuild? And that could be because of salary cap reasons, a lack of talent, organizational instability, all those different kinds of things. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload a couple of times a week. The schedule is kind of out the window at this point, but I upload a lot of times per week. And leaving a like rating is also a great way to let me know that you're enjoying the content as well. So be sure to do that as well. With that said, let's go and get started. Okay, before we get started with the actual list, I did want to point out an honorable mention here that is actually not going to appear on the list, and it's the New York Knicks. The reason I'm mentioning them is because they seem to come up in every single video like this in the comment section. People are talking about how, oh, the Knicks have to be on there. I already talked about their future in a what's next video for them and why it's actually better than I thought that it would be. They've got RJ Barrett, they've got Mitchell Robinson, they're still the Knicks. I still think that there's positive things that go along with that, and they've got plenty of cap space moving forward as well. So they've got a pretty clean slate and some young talent, so they're not going to be on this list. However, a team that is going to be on this list is a team that just did some, let's say, front office restructuring, and it's the Sacramento Kings. I talked about them recently, and I'm going to be talking about them in the next video that I put out as well. We're going to be doing our first NBA trade machine in a while, this one on Buddy Hield, so leave your, I don't know what happened to my voice there, this one on Buddy Hield, so leave your comments down below in terms of what trades you have for Buddy Hield, as well as over on Twitter. That'll be the next video. But the Sacramento Kings are the 5th toughest rebuild in the NBA for me right now, and there's a couple of reasons for this. One, I want to put the whole changes in the front office thing as a negative, but I also think it can be a positive because if they bring in smart people, it'll certainly help. But when you look at just kind of the position they're in, it's going to be really tough to improve the team moving forward unless guys like Marvin Bagley really become great players and fulfill the potential that they do still have. Because I talked about this in the video the other day, so I'm not going to reiterate it too much, but essentially every single year moving forward, they're going to have another player that is up for a big contract extension that's going to continually take up their cap space year after year. This year it's Bogdanovich, then they've got De'Aaron Fox, and they've got Marvin Bagley if he ends up being a good player. And on top of that, they've got contracts like Harrison Barnes and Buddy Hield that's taking up the rest of their cap space. So if they're going to keep being a 30-something win team, which they have the talent to do moving forward, they're not going to have a very high draft pick to improve the team. They're not going to have the salary cap space really, and I don't think the trade pieces are all that great either. And even though they do have the talent of Bagley and Fox, and they were a good team, or at least an average team last year, I think that they're in a pretty tough spot. Next up now at number 4 is a team that I didn't really expect to be putting on a list like this for a very, very long time. But here they are anyway, and it's the San Antonio Spurs. Let's first talk about the positives for this team. They have some young talent. They're not completely devoid of it. And I think that's one of the best things about them moving forward is that they do have some young guards that could end up being something. We'll talk about what exactly here in a second. And then the other part of this is just they've proven as an organization to be one of the most competent and one of the best organizations of the last 20 years. Whether that's going to continue, I don't know, but that you have to at least have some confidence in the organization as a whole that they're going to figure some things out and they're going to rebuild in the right way. But the other part of this is even though they do have that young talent, they've got guys like Lonnie Walker, Keldon Johnson, Derek White, DeJounte Murray, those 4 guards, they don't really seem to know what any of them are going to be yet, and it's going to take some time to figure that out. And I don't think any of them really have star potential either. So best case scenario, they're just going to be pretty solid complementary options, or they're going to be trade pieces. And apart from that, what do they really have on the roster? Jakob Poeltl is a good defensive 5 that's still, young. Then they've got DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, both of which I think have questionable trade value and or are going to be leaving free agency within the next year or two. So when you add into that the coaching uncertainty as well, not knowing if Greg Popovich is going to continue to be the coach, this would be a tough situation to be put in if you just, put me or anybody else in the mix there in the front office and said, hey, where do we go from here? I think it's a pretty tough situation to kind of figure out what to do moving forward in San Antonio. Next up now at number 3 is going to be the Washington Wizards. First, let's talk about some positives. Bradley Beal is the best trade asset on any team that we're going to talk about in this entire list. So if the Wizards do want to move him down the road, he would be a great way to start the rebuild by getting some future assets for him. And I still also like Rui Hachimura on this roster. Other than that, there's not a whole lot going on for this team because the young talent is certainly limited. You're, looking at guys like maybe Troy Brown Jr. to get excited about. I mean, I guess that's a thing. But other than that, it's pretty limited. And then you've got the John Wall and Bradley Beal, even though Beal's a great player, taking up so much cap space moving forward. And that's more so an issue with Wall than it is with Beal. And that just creates such a difficult situation to be able to improve the roster via trade, via free agency, and again, with the limited draft assets as well. So unless they really, make it big with a big draft pick or a high draft pick, or Rui becomes a great player, or Bradley Beal wants to continue to stay and they don't have to trade him, it's going to be a long haul rebuild here in Washington. And it's not impossible, but the reason that I have it as more difficult than the Spurs or the Kings is just because the young talent isn't there. Like, I know how good Bradley Beal is, but when you're talking about outside of that, I just don't see a whole lot of positive things there organizationally for Washington. And number 2 now is going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I want to talk about some positive things first, but it's just unfortunately not going to take very much time. I think Colin Sexton had a really good year, and I think he has a chance to be a good guard, an all-star caliber guard. Apart from that, I don't really have a whole lot of positive things to say about this team. Darius Garland had a really tough rookie season. I don't know if the fit is there between him and Sexton. Obviously, we're going to have plenty of time moving forward to kind of figure that out, and it's too early to tell, but first signs are not encouraging. And then you've got the Kevin Love contract that they're going to have to try and flip. I don't think it's an asset at all. I don't think teams are all that excited about bringing in Kevin Love at the salary and the years that are left on his contract. So when you're comparing that to like the Wizards situation, they don't really have a central asset to flip to begin the rebuild, even though they've been rebuilding for a few years. They don't really have a ton here to trade, and the cap situation isn't all that great moving forward either. So a combination of those things, that even though they do have Colin Sexton, outside of that, I don't see a lot of positive things for this group. And unfortunately, I think the Cavs are the second toughest rebuild in the NBA right now. And at number 1 now is a team that I talked about, I want to say like a month ago, 2 months ago. And literally the title of the video is the toughest rebuild in the NBA right now is the Detroit Pistons. And it's just a complete talent void in Detroit. You've got Christian Wood, who I've done some videos on, and he's going to be an interesting free agent. I don't really know if the production that he put up this season has more to do with just not having really anybody else on the roster that can do a lot offensively. Blake Griffin not being hurt, or not being healthy, excuse me. But then outside of that, I mean, Luke Kennard had a nice season, but there's not a whole lot else. Sekou Doumbouya has shown some promise. Again, kind of like Christian Wood, once Blake Griffin went down, he started to get some more minutes. When you're looking at the roster from top to bottom and you're considering how difficult it's going to be to move Blake Griffin's contract and how much that's going to impede their progress from a salary cap standpoint, and you're looking at the fact that Luke Kennard, Sekou Doumbouya, and Christian Wood are what you're quote-unquote building around moving forward, that's definitely an issue. And I wouldn't be surprised if Kennard is moved within the next 18 months. I wouldn't be surprised if Blake Griffin, if they just like straight up waived him or something and he never ends up becoming the Blake Griffin of old. I wouldn't be surprised about that either. So really, when you're looking at it top to bottom, salary cap wise, talent wise, draft pick wise, things do not look good for Detroit at all. So these are my 5 teams that I have ranked as the 5 toughest rebuilds in the entire league. Let me know down in the comment section below what your order would be. It doesn't have to be these 5 teams, but these are mine. There's a lot of different things to consider here, so it's definitely would make sense if you guys had a different opinion than what I have here, but I'm interested to see, as I said, what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. But yeah, with that said, that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. As I said in the beginning, the next time you see me, it will be a Buddy Hield trade machine video, so be sure to leave your comments down below of some trades that you would like to see for Buddy Hield. I'll take a look through those, and that will be the next video. But yeah, once again, my name is Tucker. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you missed any of my previous videos, be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.